Am I anti-music? I was listening to Get Low in the shower while I was getting ready for stream this morning. You do say some weird shit about music. I saw a clip of you saying you can't critically engage. No, no, no. People like to interpret what I say really uncharitably there. And to be honest, this does bother me a little bit. All I was saying was that if I'm like looking at people on dating profiles and I'm trying to see what their interests are, I wouldn't know what to say or how to talk with a person whose like primary interest was music. You can't listen to music together with a person and have the same kind of extensive conversations or opinions on it the way you can with a movie because, and I'm really sorry to tell you guys this, and I know a lot of you are going to be triggered by it, a movie has more overlapping elements to engage with than music. Obviously, movies contain music plus other things. It would be like if a person on a dating profile said they like looking at paintings. Obviously, looking at paintings is like a fully, like that's a fully valid and engaging way to work with art. But like, if that was a person's primary like hobby, looking at paintings, like do they just sit in their computer chair and like look at painting? Like, I don't mind looking at paintings. I love going to the museum or art galleries or whatever. But then do I, like, if we're like hanging out, do I just like sit next to them and like look at the paintings? Like I could talk about that, but I don't know. I feel like there's a little less to work with conversationally. Maybe music and paintings feel like more of an internal emotional. Yeah, this is a bad take. No, it's not. No, you people are insane on that. You people are insane on this. I can say the most because you're all engaging with this like on an internal level, and you're thinking like, well, I've had deep emotional experiences with music. I'm not talking about your emotional experiences. I'm talking about talking with another person. Yes, you can. I feel like, I feel like I should just ban all of you. If for no other reason than because no effort is being made to actually engage with what I'm saying. I think I'll just do that. There we go. Oh, it's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be a lot of people. Oh, yeah. Ooh, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, I'm correct on this. We've done this whole thing before, and the problem is that people get really emotional about music and art generally because, well, that's fine. It's an emotional work. So as a consequence of this, people get like so defensive that they don't engage with anything that I'm saying. After the last time we talked about this, basically everyone in chat ended up agreeing with me, but it took like 2 hours of massaging the hurt egos of people who don't have a personality outside of liking a given band. I'm really sorry, guys. But if you genuinely think that, like there's no underlying truth or like point to what I'm saying, then you're off on this. Like, listen, I understand what you mean, Vaush, but I think you're not really understanding how deeply you can appreciate music. There are YouTube channels dedicated to shit. Missing the point, banned. Unironically read some music theory, banned. Missing the point. Not difficult. Vaush musicians do this all the time. I'm not a musician. Why would I, if on a dating profile, want to engage with a person on the basis of what a musician would like to do? Vaush, do you know about music theory? You can go very banned. Literally, none of you listen to what I said. Vaush, you can connect with people over music so easily. Didn't say you can't. Banned. Nothing gets me more than people not actually listening to what I say and getting angry at an imagined version of the thing that I said. But music is much more personalizing. Banned. Nothing to do with what I said. Ban me, I'll take one for the team. Banned. Vaush, I think this might be an autism thing. Probably. But also banned. Vaush is right, just sitting there listening to music in silence as a date is weird. I think you can do that. I don't know if you could do it for like 2.5 hours the way you could with the movie. I mean, you can, but I think it's a little less common. People in chat are going to pretend it's not less common. People in chat are going to be like, no, actually, it's just as common to sit and watch music in silence for 2.5 hours as it is to watch a movie. That's just as common. It's just as common to do that. Ban me too? Okay. Vaush, it's really just a you problem. I think I've never heard anyone say this. It's not really a me problem. I'm not talking about any like sort of personal opinion thing. The fact that music has less layers to engage with than a movie is pretty much objective. Vaush, I think it's a good take, but it doesn't really only apply to music. Wouldn't it be hard to talk to a movie snob / expert about a movie? Well, we're not talking about like the level of expertise. We're just talking about how much material is being provided. Obviously, if you're watching like a movie or a TV show, this is an incredibly complicated and multi-layered piece of media. It's multimedia, literally, right? So you have like narrative and character stuff, and you have the writing, and then you have music, and you have like there's so much stuff that goes into it, with music just being one part of it. So, of course, being multi-layered, there's like more ways to engage with it. Much in the same way that there's like an entire universe of thought and experience that goes into paintings. But like, if you just sat and watched that with somebody, watching music on its own is like looking at a pretty image on its own, in that it's a totally valid and cool thing to do. But I would have trouble making that the primary shared experience with another person. Maybe if I was at a concert or an art museum or something like that, then that's kind of like a venue specifically designed to, you know, to maximize the sort of engagement there. Have you taken any art history class? Yep, 2 of them, and honors. And I went to the extracurriculars. Thank you. What do you think about the way music impacts society? That's a pretty broad question. Music's cool. Vaush, I don't think you can get this point across better than you already have so far. Yeah, it's just really, oh man, I don't mind people disagreeing with me. It's just sometimes like I can hear like the clicking going off in somebody's brain or in all of chat's brain collectively, especially with emotionally impactful stuff like music, because obviously it's art, right? So it hits you right in the brain heartstrings. And people like don't listen to anything that I'm saying and they just run off with it, you know? Yep, the essay posting. What are your thoughts on watching music videos? Why? What do you think I'm against watching music videos? Music videos are cool. What? Again, like people ascribe like the weirdest fucking positions to me. Like people unironically act like I don't think music is art or something. Like some Ben Shapiro ass, like come on, guys. Vaush, you're doing a Mott and Bailey. Your original claim was framed much more contentiously. I'm not doing a Mott and Bailey at all. My position has stayed consistent this entire time. If you ascribed a bunch of stupid bullshit that you interpreted to my original position, and now upon further clarification you feel that I'm being disingenuous for not being as dumb as you uncharitably thought I was, that's on you. Vaush, I study art history, and I think you're kind of right. Unless you both are really into paintings or music and go super deep into analysis, there's not that much to talk about. Yeah, there is a reason why going to the theaters to watch a movie is a far, far more common date or hangout thing than like, I don't know, like going to a museum. And even that's not really the same, too, because a museum or a concert are like very specific curated venues. I guess it would be more like queuing up a bunch of images on your computer to look at. Wait, people just sit and listen to music in silence? I can understand doing it on one's own, but as a date, that can be cool, right? It's not really my thing, but I get that. I'm just saying there's less to talk about with that than there would be with a movie, like on average. And people, when I say that, people are thinking what I'm saying is there's less involved effort, or there's, well, of course there's less involved effort than a movie. Movies are insanely difficult to make, obviously. And they take like fucking thousands of people or whatever. But yeah, on average, less so. You see Vaush is racist because he's saying he doesn't like rock and roll. True. Vaush, this feels like an example of you not having much musical interest or skill. I have long conversations with my girlfriend all the time about specific songs, techniques, different riffs being played, the mix, etc. You're exactly what I'm talking about. If you having a specific interest, do you think that's broadly applicable? Like the average person is like sitting and hanging out with their date and listening to music and going like, man, the specific riff, musical theory, da-da-da. Like, come on, you're obviously engaging with it because you have like a talent for or an interest in the subject. Not everyone who watches movies is into cinematography, you know? Like, yes, I do that. It's not about whether you do that. Again, use some critical thinking. This isn't about whether or not it's possible to do that. We're just saying on average, if you're hanging out with people, oh man, Vaush, I feel like you just didn't have many shared experiences like that. Unironically ableist, get banned. I've chilled out listening to music with people before. How thick do you have to be I just don't think you've had the essential bonding experience of sitting in a room choked with weed smoke, listening to a band that I like. Yes, I have. What are you talking about? Jesus. What about concept albums? What about them? I agree with what you're saying. It's like when people say, I am a music fan, it's like, what do they mean? Yeah, oh, well, don't say that. Chat will say that you're like autistic and don't have a right to any opinion. You're saying that music is an art. If you say that that's like kind of an ambiguous statement. Vaush, can you not have conversations about video games? Of course, video games have more going on than music, definitionally, because video games contain music. Chat thinks you're saying all music is slop, Vaush. Yeah. Oh my God, chat's really active here. Vaush, do you think you don't have to go on a deeper level to engage with and converse about film? Nope, you don't. That is the brilliance of narrative storytelling. You don't need to know anything about cinema or even care about cinema to have strong opinions on narrative, because narrative is a human element that's present in or outside of art. That's the whole point. That's the reason why movies, books, television, and video games, you know, art that has a general narrative element characters and stories and dialogue that you can follow tends to elicit way more discussion, because those are elements of real-life human behavior that we all have opinions on. You can't not have an opinion on a subject like the way characters are written, because we write our own dialogue. Today I learned music isn't narrative. I'm banning you for 30 days because you have to be so fucking bad faith. You, oh my God, bro, you can have a story in an album. Guys, please, are you, come on. Come on, dude. Do you know how difficult this is for me? It's crazy. It's like you're genuinely making the effort, you know? What about subcultures around music? What about them? Oh, we're not talking about that. Vaush, do you think books and movies are the same level of general discussion? What does that mean? Do you mean how much can people talk about them having read them together? Well, you can't really read a book together, obviously. The most you can do is have two separate people reading the same book in the same room, I guess. It's not really a shared media experience, unless two people are like reading over each other's shoulder or something. But yeah, people talk about books that they read, like in book clubs. That's the whole thing. But obviously that's fallen off because movies are easier to engage with, because you can just sit and watch them and not have to like engage with the text. I feel like this is like a critical thinking issue. You know, this really is a Vaush L, is it? Or is it a 30-day ban? I appreciate the affirmation, but I know I'm correct on this. This isn't an opinion that's separated by knowledge of music versus not knowledge of music. This is an opinion separated by people who are right, like me, and wrong, and probably socially inept and smelly, like some of the people in chat. It's mostly a matter of confidence, I think. Insecurity is what's causing people to disagree with me on this, or a lack of critical thinking skills. Vaush, people being called out because it turns out liking music isn't a whole personality. They hate to be told that. Liking movies isn't either, by the way. Vaush, bring it back to the example of dating profiles. I like music and I'm really into music theory / composition / etc. give completely different impressions of a person. Yes, I agree. Yeah, 100%. If I saw a person's bio say, I like music, I wouldn't get from that the impression that they were into music theory. I would get the impression that they're into listening to music, which is different. Obviously. I would be interested in listening to a person into music theory talk about music, you know? I have friends that are into music theory, because that's like a different level than just like listening to the music and having opinions on the music. Much in the same way that I don't really know what I like movies means. So you want everyone who makes music to die. Yes. Vaush, is your point with movies that the subject matter casts a wider net, like one could really engage with the plot while another dissects the score? No. It's that the narrative element of art is the thing that humans have an innate opinion on, basically, because the things that allow us to appreciate that are literally hard-coded into our brain as a like element of our ability to have social experiences. So if you are watching a movie, most of the time, the opinions people come away with in the movie are opinions on the plot, the story, the characters, because those are the human social elements that we literally have chunks of our brain dedicated to processing. That's something that humans have like a very specific relationship with. Now, you might come away from a movie saying like, wow, the art was really beautiful, or like the visuals were beautiful. Of course, sure. But we are just better at and more likely to, on average, outside of like the specialties, right? People who are especially interested in them, engage with that kind of stuff. Same with books. Video games, of course, have narratives. A lot of them do. You know, that's just something we like to dissect. So movies can be more slop than music or book because, no, we're not talking about slop. No, I haven't used that word. We're not talking about slop. Any art form can be slop. Vaush, this is wild. You take one position, then when people try to nuance your position, you claim that was what you were saying the whole time. You're not wrong, just buoyant. You're delusional. You're fighting shadows. You're being attacked on all sides by phantoms. Ghosts are choking you out. Okay, you quickly. Okay, make your way to some holy water. All right, you fucking shadow boxer. Jesus, Shadow's being super bad faith at this point. I don't know. I guess it's the people who have I like music in their dating bios. Would you agree that people can talk about music in terms of you can talk about music? What do you mean? Would you agree people can talk about music? Of course, I don't need to agree on that. It's already true. My consensus on the matter is irrelevant. Again, you're asking for my permission. You're either mad at me for the imagined position that music is bad or dumb or something, or you're like insecurely asking, well, It's okay to be like this. You can be whatever, dude. It's fine. It's okay. Oh my God, we spent so long on this topic, Lamau. Well, it's not really about the music. There's nothing to me more frustrating than what I perceive as being deliberately misunderstood. Most of my time as a YouTuber has been, from my perspective, fighting like upstream against people who are willfully dishonest when they interpret what I say. I deal with a lot of stuff like that, and for the most part, I can tolerate it outside of the community because the alternative to tolerating it would be, I don't know, being upset all the time. I will say, though, it does bother me when it comes from within the community, especially on a topic that's not as, like, politically important. Like, my opinions on music aren't really a moral question, even if you thought I had a bad take. This is what I'd consider a relatively trivial subject. We're not talking about human rights here. So for people in chat to leap out at me with what I think are very bad faith interpretations of what I say, it is very, very frustrating. Move on, please. I will move you on to the nether realm for one day. To be fair, some of your early clips are incredibly... Yeah. Well, it's been 5 years, Unorthodox Monkey. Has chat always been like this since the start, or has chat deteriorated over time? No, chat is probably better than it used to be. However, this particular subject, the music thing, has always gotten people, and I just don't get it. I think you need to explain your point clearly again. No, my point has been clearly explained. A failure to understand it properly is on other people, not on me. I could repeat it an infinite number of times, and there would always be people who would be like, ah, well, you actually mean this. How come chat is insane about music and smoking weed? There's probably an overlap between the two groups. Also, it's insecurity. I say, you know, a lot of people are coping about being weed addicts, and the people who are insecure about the fact that they are coping weed addicts get mad at me. Likewise, people are insecure about, I don't know, the validity of their engagement with music, as though I don't listen to music all the time. So they lash out at me. That behavior is almost always a product of insecurity. I think people think when you say movies are multi-layered and a lot more complicated, it's less about the complication and more about the presence of the narrative element. And yes, music can be narrative, but if you don't know the difference between the narrative presence in a movie and music, again, you're acting in bad faith. You're being ridiculous, frankly. You're being silly, okay? If you genuinely can't tell the difference between, like, 2 hours of plot and dialogue and so on, versus, like, the narrative infused in an album or, like, a rock opera or something, you know? So you think saying I don't like music is more info on a person than I like music? Yes. If a person said I don't like music in their bio, I would instantly swipe left. I think that's like incredibly weird, and it comes across as like Redditor behavior to me. You know? Like fedora tipping, like I'm too smart to appreciate. I only engage with real, like you know, serious media like Warhammer 40K books or whatever. That's honestly unexpected of you, only because you're a retard. When have I ever said I don't like music? Why would I When have I said, why would you get that from what I've said? Why? Why? Why would you interpret that from what I've said? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm just going to ban you preemptively. Chat can't be fixed, you should move on. I don't know, I banned a lot of people and it looks a lot better now. I think the thing we take issue with is that you think music is a lesser art, or at least art less capable of being engaged with critically. It's not a lesser art. There's no such thing as a lesser art. And in terms of like, ability to engage with critically, you can engage with anything critically to any level. It's about how readily people can engage with it. It is easier to engage with a movie than it is to engage with music. The average person with no special interest in movies can probably hold an extensive conversation on a movie because the narrative element in a movie is something that ties into parts of how we think that we have very strong opinions on by default. The way characters behave, you know? There are elements to that we have just innate appreciation of. Whereas with music, well, obviously, like, there is an element of us that seems to appreciate music on an almost fundamental level, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can engage with it or hold a conversation on it to the same extent. I think if you took the average person with no special interest in music or movies, just like a normie core dad, you know, someone who wears like a white polo and ill-fitting khaki shorts, and he grills in the backyard, and he thinks that, like, you know, Cajun seasoning is too spicy for him. And I took him out to watch a movie and also sat him down to listen to an album. I bet I could hold more of a conversation on the content of the movie than I could the album easily. And if you disagree with that, you're insane. You're mentally ill and you should be locked up. If there are any relatives of the people who disagree with that listening, strongly encourage you to intern them in a mental health care facility so that they can be kept away from society and can't hurt other people. If you disagree with that, you're delusional. You're schizophrenic. You're every mental illness, ableism, everything with your brain that can go wrong has gone wrong. You're actually having a seizure right now. All right.